Welcome, Gun Runner.
Hello everybody, Kieran aka The Lead here, and I'm back with another great book review for you. And as you can see, this is a Compendium of Master System Games, Volume 1 by me. So yeah, it's not really a review as such, because it would be a bit arrogant of me to review my own book. This is literally just a look through it. But as always, I'm still going to title it a book review because that's what gets the clicks and views on YouTube. You have to use the right terms that people search for. So, yeah. So this is my latest print book. It joins the ZX Spectrum, Atari 2600, Atari 8-bit, Commodore 64 and Atari ST books to become my sixth full-colour print book published through AG Books. Here in the UK. A bit of pre-warning here. My cats are all trying to get in on the video, like they often do. So you may see one of them appear in a minute, because there's actually 4 of them in various areas around me at the moment. None of them have ventured onto the camera yet, but I'm sure they will, because they always love to do that. So yeah, so here we go. So yes, this is the second one I've done on a console. The books I've done so far have obviously been quite dominated by computers, but I had previously done the Atari 2600 book. That was the only other console one I've done. This is the second console one I've done. I will have some more console ones coming up, because I have a Mega Drive print book that's pretty much finished, ready to go. So that'll be coming out at some point. Just a little bit of editing and tweaking to do with that, really. And I also have, what other ones do I have coming up? There'll be an Amstrad CPC book at some point, and an MSX book at some point soon as well. Obviously, those are both computers as well. But yeah, there will be some more console stuff. I'm sure there'll be a Nintendo NES print book at some point as well. Although I've held off on doing that because I've recently been involved in the amazing NES Compendium by Brett Weiss, my good friend over in the US. So he's more of an authority on the NES than I am, but I've provided some sort of knowledge from the UK side of things, some memories of games that I've played and stuff like that. So yeah, look out for that book. Highly recommended as well. So as you can see straight away, the most striking thing about this book, I think, is the cover. The designer John did an absolutely brilliant job with this cover. Really pleased with what he came up with. He also does a great job, to be honest, but I think this is probably my favourite cover that he's done. I really like the cover he did for the Atari ST book. This one is even better because he's really captured the look of that original Master System artwork, as you can see. I mean, if you compare it there, to the casino games, one above, and you look straight down, you can see it's really got the same look. The same font with the Compendium in the same font as like the Sega logo, the box font, and then he's got Alex Kidd and Sonic, and of course the grid pattern in the background, which I think was a must, and that was carried through all of the Master System boxes. I mean, you can see I've got several generations here of different Master System boxes. I just picked out a random selection off the shelf from my own collection, so I had a good representation. I mean, I've got stuff like, just to move these down a moment so you can see better, you've got the simplicity of the original boxes like World Grand Prix. I say simplicity, they're well known for being absolutely terrible, like the classic pro wrestling one where the guy's, headlocking his own head that's missing. Always my favourite one, that one. I actually did a video on bad box art, if you want to watch that, because the Master System gets a good mention in that. So a quick plug for another video there. I'll stick the link up in the top right hand corner, as I always do. Then they moved on to these slightly better ones like casino games there, where and Golfomania as well actually is the same kind of generation, where they tell you what kind of game it is in the top right hand corner, so family or sports as it says there, and a nice bit of hand drawn art that uses up a bit more of the box. I really like that casino games one. I think that's really cool, very 80s indeed. And then later on, Sega adapted it slightly to go more like the Mega Drive design, like Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine over there, which is actually a bit obscured because of the light. But you can see that's basically like a Mega Drive box, just with the white grid instead of the black grid behind it. And Galaxy Force there, which is a bit earlier than that, where they've used, obviously the arcade art, so it's instantly recognisable as the arcade game. And then I've got a few third-party games here. So I've got Speedball there. I've got Marble Madness there, both for Virgin actually. So they went for a slightly different look, more in keeping with their other releases for other systems, especially Mega Drive. So yeah, so there's several different generations there of different Master System box art, and we really tried to replicate that look with this book. So as you can see, that's the paperback there. This is the hardback. The only difference you'll notice straight away is the hardback says collector's edition in the corner. It's a bit more expensive, a bit more premium. Have a look at the back of the book. So this is the hardback, $16.99 UK money. The paperback is $9.99 UK money, so under a tenner for around 200 pages, which I think is actually very good value. There's some more screenshots on the back, as well as a description of what the book is about, of course. I will quickly mention, actually, before I start flicking through this, that these two that I have here are pre-release proofs of the book. So they are not the actual finished book. There won't be a lot of differences. In fact, you probably wouldn't even notice any of the differences on camera. But these aren't quite the finished one. But I was really keen to get this video out there. And because there's not massive differences. It was just some little tweaks in layout and text and stuff like that, which you wouldn't really notice. So yeah, because there's not a massive difference, I decided to go ahead and do the review with these versions. So let's go and get to the start. I'm going to use the hardbacks. It's a bit easier to hold and it stays open a lot easier. So there we go. So it starts off obviously with a contents there. And intro by me, obviously. And then we go into the game. So you'll see here as well, he's done a really nice job with the intro pages for each chapter. So again, he's used the same Master System box art with the nice Sega blue colour on the grid background. And it's obviously in alphabetical order. It's not, as I always say with these compendiums, it's not every game for the Master System. So don't expect to find every game. That's why it's a compendium of Sega Master System games, Volume 1, because there may be another one in the future. And the original books that this is based on is, as many people know, the same with my other compendiums, is I took my 3 A to Z of Sega Master System ebooks that I did. So A to Z of Sega Master System games, Volume 1, 2 and 3, and compiled them, put them all together, and added a stack of extra bonus reviews, as well as some developer interviews to make this print book. Now, where this print book actually differs from my other ones, which I must mention, is that in the previous compendiums, what I did was added. There was 10 games for each letter of the alphabet. There was in each of the ebooks there was 3. So obviously 3 plus 3 plus 3 is 9. So I added 1 extra game for each letter of the alphabet for the print book to make it up to 10. The Master System book is actually slightly different, because what I actually did was I actually bulked up more than that. I think I ended up adding, I think it might have been 14 reviews. It's actually more. So it's actually more bonus content in this book than there was in in any of the previous books. And the reason for that was to make some letters better represented, because as well as A to Z, I also did with the Master System book, which I didn't do with any of the others again, is I added games that began with numbers. So we've got games that begin with numbers in here as well. So there is some extra additions, because I'll go into this in a moment, but this doesn't just include commercial games. This also includes homebrews, and there's a good example there. So I'm trying to just find one. So bread and butter, brilliant homebrew there from 2014. So if you follow the yearly SMS Power coding competition, you will know that there's some brilliant homebrew coming out for the Master System and has been for many years now. And a lot of that has been covered, is covered in this book. So if you are a Master System homebrewer, you might just find your game in this book. There's Rufus, one of my kittens. Not so kitten-like now. He's getting bigger and bigger all the time. Yeah, we've got just show you some various bits. But there's also some unreleased prototypes in here as well. So, for example, there we go, is the excellent Dizzy collection, which for some reason was never released, despite being complete, which is a real shame. But another thing that I did include in here as well, which you might be very interested here, to make it even more complete, is I included Korean bootlegs, which there are lots of, because the Master System, as the Samsung Game Boy, was very, very, very successful in Korea. And what happened was, companies like Zamina, who are probably the most famous one, converted MSX games to play on the Master System because of the similarities in the hardware. I'll show you some of those in a moment. And I also included some Brazil-only games as well. Like there's FIFA and there's Fire and Ice there as well. So there's some Brazilian-only releases. There's lots of those in there as well. I'll try and find one of the Korean games that I speak of in a moment. And these keep getting discovered. More and more Korean Master System games keep getting discovered all the time. So as the book was being finalised, I found out about more, and I really wanted to include them in the book, and they fitted in nicely with some of the letters that were a little bit more lacking than others, so I got them in there. So interviews, as was the first developer interview, Matt Householder, who was a producer at Epic. So he was also the creator, though, of many of the game series. So most famously, California Games was his creation. He came up with the whole idea and concept for that. So obviously there's a lot about how he created California Games. It's a bit about World Games in there, Winter Games, which actually never got released for the Master System. Summer Games obviously did come out as well. So a lot of the Epic stuff came out on the Master System. There we go, H. So this is another thing actually I just forgot about, which I've also included in the book, is so-called GG2 SMS hacks. So Game Gear games that have been converted and hacked to run on the Master System. So there's one there in Halley Wars. So there's lots of them in there as well. So I thought that was interesting that you can now download these, hacked versions of Game Gear games that you can play on your Master System, which is great. Some more homebrew there. So Headless Ninja Volley, Have Pity on Me. And actually another thing I must mention, got to keep coming up with more things to mention about the book, is I have also included SG-1000 games, because obviously the Master System is backwards compatible with the SG-1000. Especially if you have the Japanese Mark III rather than a Master System where it will just play those games out of the box. But obviously the European ones and stuff, you do need to run them from a flash cartridge, unless they're Sega cards. Actually, Sega cards I believe will work on Master System ones. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, you can run them from flash cartridges and stuff. So because of that backwards compatibility element, I have included quite a lot of SG-1000 games in the book as well. So Hero by Activision there, for example, because it's such a brilliant game. And a lot of people don't seem to be aware that you can actually run these SG-1000 games on your Master System. Get a Master EverDrive, that's what you need. I have one. Very, very good. There we go. There's another actually thing that I've included in terms of this Japanese-only games. But some of these Japanese-only games, like that one, Hoshiwo Sagashiti, that one has been converted into English. It's like a dating kind of RPG type thing. And yeah, and people have translated all the text into English. You can actually play it. So there's one there. And High School Kimengumi as well, another Japanese game there. And Hook, there was the prototype. So yes, I really have encompassed the full range of what the Master System offers. Commercial games, homebrews, imports, bootlegs, the SG-1000 games, you name it really. They're in the book pretty much. Here comes Daisy to have a nose. Now my biggest cat, many of you remember her as a tiny little kitten appearing in my videos. Like my famously one was when I actually did a review of the MSX, and she was in that one quite a lot, I seem to remember, and I got so many comments about her being in that video. Let's have a look. In there says another homebrew Nano Wars. Just trying to find another interview for you, so I can show you another one. So there we go. There's the dashing Sean McClure, good friend of mine, all-round great guy. He was the lead graphics artist at Imagitech Design, where he worked on a load of Master System games, including James Pond 2 Robocod and Road Rash. A few unreleased games as well, which he talks about here, like Viking Child. There's a screenshot of the Master System version of Viking Child that never came out. And The Humans. Championship Hockey was another one of his. That's there. Wheel of Fortune. So he worked on a lot of those games for Game Gear and Master System. So yeah, we've got a nice interview with him in there. So we've included all sorts of other stuff as well, like so they're Outrun and Outrun 3D. So I talk about the differences between the two. For those of you who have 3D glasses and can fit them on your head, that's the problem I always had with the 3D glasses. They were too big. My head's too big even, not they're too big. My head's too big. Few jokes about me having a big head, I'm sure someone will make them. I'll show you some more random pages. So there we go, we've got Robocop, which is a Korean bootleg, so there's one of the ones that I was talking about, plus Robocop versus Terminator, R-Type, obviously a classic there, Rygar, which is only ever released in Japan for some reason, but people have made a hack that's called Rygar, so it uses the European name, the Western name should I say. So there we go, S with Shanghai Sensible Soccer. Whoops, I've skipped far too ahead there. Sonic, Shinobi, Space Harrier, Streets of Rage, so all big games that you'd expect to see in here. There's some more stuff. So there actually is not just a homebrew, an SG-1000 homebrew in Uol Quest for Money. So that's in there as well. So yeah, really is, like I say, I've really covered the full range of what's out there for the Master System. An interview there with Tom Sloper, another fan of cats. You probably wouldn't have heard of Tom Sloper, he's not that well known. And not many people seem to have interviewed him over the years either, but I did a very extensive Skype interview with him last year. So we're talking about all sorts of things because he worked for Atari as well. So I've got a big load. So that was the main reason why I was interviewing him. But I got him to talk about some other stuff while we were chatting. So that was good. So Tom Sloper talks about being a producer for Activision. And as we know, Activision did quite a lot of games for the Master System. So he talks about Rampage, for example, which is really interesting because it was credited as the game that broke Nintendo's lock on the North American video games market, where they stopped third-party developers from releasing games for other systems. And Activision broke that because they released Rampage on NES, on Master System, on Atari 7800 and Atari 2600. So they released it across all the three big console manufacturers, Nintendo, Sega and Atari. And it talks about that lawsuit actually in there where Sega and Atari tried to sue, well did sue Nintendo to try and get rid of their illegal practices in the American market. So Shanghai, another game that he worked on extensively over the years, Ghostbusters. It talks about Galaxy Force as well, which strangely Activision, which I've got there, strangely Activision published in America, which is quite strange because it's a Sega arcade game. But he talks about actually doing some testing on that and how he got them to make some changes to it, which is really is quite interesting. So there's some more Vampire Master of Darkness. I must mention actually that for some reason, I don't really sure why, I never included Master of Darkness in the ebooks, and I had someone who bought all three of the ebooks and complained that they didn't have Master of Darkness in them. And when I saw his comment on Amazon, he loved the books, but he was just a bit upset they didn't have Master of Darkness in there because he said it was his favourite Master System game. when I saw it, I thought, oh my god, I didn't include it in the print books, did I? And I couldn't believe I didn't, the ebooks even, because it's easily one of my favourite Master System games. So I was like, no way, how did I even miss that out? So I absolutely made sure it was in the print book. Because at that point I was still planning out the print book. It wasn't finalised. So if you're watching, I can't remember your name, sorry, but if you're watching, then you'll see that it's in here. It's in the print book. There's some more homebrew stuff like Versus, VG Fighter, Video Poker, some Master System version of Vigilante, Virtua Fighter Animation, VR Troopers, which are GG to SMS hacks, volleyball, VP Racer. So you see each game. I haven't really said this, but it's pretty obvious. Obviously, each game has a screenshot, a review, the publisher, what year it was released, and a score out of 10. Some more stuff there. Good old Zillion games, which are great games for the Master System. CP Race there, G1000 game, and Zombie Terror, Zool. So we've got numbers here. So we've got 20M1, which is a Brazilian release, 2048. Nice little homebrew game. So and that's all there is to it really, because that's the end of the book there. So you see the reviews take it up to 175 pages, pretty much. And that's it, pretty just down the road from me, Milton Keynes. So there you go. That's a compendium of Master System games, Volume 1 by me. It is available right now. You can order it. It's in stock. Amazon have it. Because I know when I was previously talking about the book, I posted links to it on Facebook and stuff like that. And a lot of people were saying, "Oh, it's out of stock," which you always get because when the book kind of goes on pre-order for a while, because this is done via Amazon's print-on-demand service. So what they do is they give it a couple of weeks while people are ordering to try and gauge what the demand is going to be for the book. Then they print absolute load of them and start sending them out. A lot of people don't really understand print on demand. They think that each book is printed as it's ordered. It's not. They print a load at one time. Then to gauge how many they think they sell, and then if that obviously stock runs out and they sell out of it, they do another print run. So some of my other books have gone through like 5 or 6 print runs because they sold into the thousands, when perhaps Amazon initially thought that they would only sell in hundreds or whatever. So that's how that kind of works. So this is now available. Now they have printed lots of them. They are there in the warehouses, so it can be ordered worldwide. It's available on Amazon.com. It's available on Amazon.de. So there's no matter where you are in the world, if you're a Brazilian Master System fan, well, obviously it's really popular as long as you can read English. If you're an American collector who snubbed the NES to go with Sega in the 8-bit generation, then you can order this book too. And I really hope you enjoy reading it. It was a book I really enjoyed putting together. Brought back a lot of memories for me when I was doing this, because I never owned a Master System when I was younger, but 3 of my best friends did. So shout outs to Alex, James and Philip, who all owned Master Systems. They were all really, really good friends of mine. And we used to take it in turns to go around each other's houses and play each other's consoles and then fight about who had the best one and stuff like that. All those guys, actually Alex and Philip were Commodore 64 owners. So we had the Spectrum Commodore 64 wars, and then we moved on, and Alex had a Game Gear, I had a Lynx. So Alex was always the guy who had the different system to me, ST Amiga, so on and so forth. Still good friends with Alex now, actually. We talk all the time on Facebook. So massive shout out to Alex, actually, because we're still very good friends. But all those guys had Master Systems, so I used to play on their Master Systems regularly, all the time. So it was as good as having one yourself in a way, because I used to spend so much time around their houses and vice versa. So lots and lots of memories. And nowadays I mainly play Master System games through my Mega Drive, actually, because I have a Mega Rev Drive. I have a Master System converter as well. So although I do have an actual Master System 2 console in my garage, I've never picked up a Master System 1 because I've never found one at a decent price, which is annoying, but there we go. But that's a compendium of Sega Master System games. I've just talked about, my personal stories there with Master System and my friends owning them, and some of those stories are in the book as well. It's not just reviews, there's personal stories in there, there's trivia. You've got the great developer interviews. There's all sorts of stuff in there for the Master System fan, and there isn't really any other books out there like this. The only other one you can probably think of is the visual compendium that Bitmap Books did, and I actually held back on this book because of that one. I didn't want them to come out at the same time. This would have been an much earlier book in my lineup had Bitmap not released their book first. So there we go. It's a different kind of book because the Bitmap book is more visual, doesn't include reviews. So, and the interviews are different. I made sure not to interview the same people. So yeah, I think they complement each other nicely. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you now go out and buy this book. And I thank everyone for the support, with my other books. They sold, so well. My publisher's pleased. I'm really pleased. And as long as they continue to sell, I will continue putting out more of them. So thank you very much. I'll see you all again for another video very soon. Bye bye.